To some newer Counter-Strike players, the name Scout's Knives may not have any meaning to you, but regardless of your familiarity to the name, it is undeniably one of the most popular community maps ever made, to the point where you've probably played it without even realizing it, and getting so popular that it even inspired Valve to make an official game mode based off of it. So with this much notoriety, you'd expect the author of this map to be a massive pillar in the community. But that wasn't the case at all. In fact, nobody even knew the original creator. So naturally, people searched, but even after 2.5 decades, the question still stands. Who is the original creator? Let's start at the very beginning with what we do know. Scout's Knives was released sometime in 2002 for CS 1.5 and had players spawn in with only a scout and a knife, hence the name Scout's Knives. But the feature that made it unique in this time period was the fact that the map was intended to be played with low gravity, which to many players was a new and fun experience that had them addicted to the game mode, which of course resulted in community servers hosting the game mode for themselves and further growing the popularity. It was at this point where you could find hundreds of servers dedicated to playing solely this game mode 24/7. And just to put into perspective how popular this game mode was at the time, competitive clans were literally forming to solely practice this one community game mode. However, with all this popularity, the origin of the map became totally drowned out. But the hype didn't last forever, and after a few years, the game mode became somewhat niche, and with the release of CSGO, most people had totally forgotten about Scout's Knives, and there was still no trace of the original author, and unfortunately, it looked to stay that way forever. However, on May 23rd of 2017, Operation Hydra released for CSGO, and with it introduced a brand new game mode called Flying Scoutsman, which was essentially a CSGO version of Scout's Knives, which didn't go unnoticed as people drew the comparison almost instantly. And at first, this was a really promising sign because for Valve to directly add a community game mode, you'd expect them to give some credit to the original designer. But the only thing that was found in the official description was a message that simply stated it was based on a fan favorite game mode and not a single message of the original creator. So at this point, not even Valve could help in the search, and as expected, time went on and the game mode had a short resurgence and then fell off again. However, at this point, some version of Scout's Knives had been in every version of CS, so when CS2 released without it, people started to miss it. And once again, got people wondering, who made the original? Unfortunately, it had been 21 years since the original game mode was released, so any information about it was likely forgotten, as most user creations around this time period were more or less spread by word of mouth, which made finding the original author seem implausible. But definitely not impossible, so a small group of people came together to try and hunt down the original creator. This video is sponsored by skinvault.gg, which is the best trading site that makes upgrading your skins as easy as possible. Literally all you have to do is sign into your Steam account, add your trade link, and then select all the skins you don't want anymore to get a brand new one from their huge catalog of skins. They also offer an instant selling feature for people who want a quick, easy, and safe way to cash out their inventories with the lowest possible fees on the whole entire market. So make sure to use code nilloc to receive a free $10 bonus on your first trade, as well as a 35% deposit bonus. Skinvault is unironically the best. It all started with the map itself. You see, most maps contain a .txt file with the author's name and sometimes their socials, so that was the starting point. But of course, that would be way too easy, and Scout's Knives didn't have that, which I guess is somewhat expected. So afterwards, people took a deeper look into the map itself, because sometimes creators will hide their names in some part of their own map. Take Inferno for example, most of the map's labeling uses the author's name. But again, this was a dead end even after looking thoroughly in and out of bounds. So the next step was to look through internet archives because there was a pretty good chance that the author's name could have been present during the early days and just got lost in time throughout the 21 years. But again, there was nothing, not even a clue. So as a last resort, the lead investigator named Crazy started reaching out across many different forums and even made an in-depth video about this investigation to see if anyone had any answers. A few days passed with his post gaining a bit of traction, and to his surprise, he finally had some clues to work with. The first clue came from a user claiming that a creator by the name of Paranoid Curb created the map because he made a similar map for Team Fortress Classic. But considering Scout's Knives was such a massive game mode at the time, it was more likely that he piggybacked off the success of the CS version. Plus, the Team Fortress Classic version was very different from the original, so he was quickly ruled out as the original author. Matt Hero was the next name mentioned as he made Scout's Knives 2, but this is also a stretch because tons of users were gunning to be the successor to the original. And just like the first lead, Matt's version was designed very differently from the original, and according to many people, not me, I'm just the messenger, but according to others, the carve tool was apparently tastelessly used, so he was ruled out as well. Although these leads were a little disheartening, the next one was by far the most popular as it was the first one that a lot of people were agreeing on. Two creators by the name of RD and Pit were being brought up a ton as they made other maps for CS 1.6 like FY Rambo Hulk and FY Ice World, which were pretty notorious around the same time that Scout's Knives was at its peak. And these two would have been pretty good candidates if it wasn't later revealed that RD wasn't the creator of Ice World and was actually just lying about it for years. Not to mention, there was no other connecting evidence between the two, so with their credibility pretty much shattered and no other mention of the map from themselves, they were ruled out as well. Now, the last and probably best lead was tracking down the creator of the CS Source version of Scout's Knives, as people thought maybe he was the same creator as the original, because many map makers ported their maps over from 1.6 to CS Source. But after getting into direct contact with the creator himself, he denied making the original or even knowing anything about the original creator. It was at this point where the investigation was kind of fizzling out. There was obviously some other leads following, but again, with very little evidence. And eventually, a few months passed, and this whole hunt for the author seemed dead. After all, there was nothing to really work with in the first place. And before you know it, a full year had passed with no answers at all. But in a last-ditch effort, Crazy made another forum post celebrating the 1-year anniversary of his hunt just to see if anyone could come forward with something new. However, it was met with no answers at all, and the mystery of Scout's Knives remained as Counter-Strike's biggest unsolved mystery. Well, that's what I would have ended this video with if I made it 4 months ago. But sometime in January, a user by the name of Omnicron made a post on the Counter-Strike subreddit titled, "I created Scout's Knives 21 years ago. Ask me anything." Obviously, anyone could make this post as a troll, but after reading the post, it was apparent that this was the real deal. After 25 years of no information at all, we finally had an answer, and it was all thanks to the video made by Crazy. The original creator literally stated in his post that he decided to come forward only after seeing Crazy's video, and also revealed that he created another map named AS_Rubble, which is actually incredibly important because it shares the same exact obscure WAD file as the original Scout's Knives, which is finally concrete proof. Plus, he got into contact with the people involved in the search, and they confirmed Omnicron was the real deal. So after 25 years, Counter-Strike's biggest unsolved mystery has finally been solved. And I just want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to Crazy and anyone else that helped with this search. They deserve all the credit in the world, because without them, this probably would have remained unsolved forever. So please go show them some love, and I'll leave Crazy's YouTube channel in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.